together stronger tomorrow. Let's start to make a difference, teaching everyone to learn. Through science, health and technology, we will share our expertise. By promoting knowledge and policies, we can build a better world. Let us take a stand for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at Symio, building the future is our legacy. We'll achieve our goals through partnership, creating opportunities. By working hand in hand, we can accomplish all our dreams. For a better quality of life is now within our reach. Let us take a stand for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at Symio, building the future is our legacy. Let us take a stand for our visions of hope, making future plans for the people to grow in a life filled with happiness and green. Here at Symio, building the future is our legacy. Building the future is our legacy. At Symio,
A very good morning to all. I'm Ms. Sivaranjini Senior, Education Specialist at Simeo Wrexham. I'll be your host for today's session. I'm pleased to welcome all of you to our Simeo Wrexham webinar on fostering digital citizenship through safe and responsible internet use, co-hosted by Google and DQ Institute. For your information, this session will be recorded. Before we begin, let me run through some house rules for a better virtual event experience. Participants are requested to participate in quiet and free from distractions. Please keep your camera off and microphone on mute. Please type in your questions and comments in the chat box. For your information, each panelist will present for 30 minutes. The Q&A session is 10 minutes. You will be required to complete the online evaluation questions in order for you to be eligible to get the e-certificate. Please fill in your evaluation using the link provided at the end of the session of this webinar. We will start today's session with welcoming remark from our Center Director of Simeo Wrexham, Dr. Shahjahan bin Asanakuti. Over to you, Dr. Shahjahan.
Thank you, Ms. Sivaranjini. His Excellency Mr. Chan Chun Sing, the Simeo Council President and Minister for Education Singapore, Ms. Tanzin Norbu, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy of Google APEC, Dr. Ethel Agnes Pascual-Zula, Director of Simeo Secretariat, officials from the Ministry of Education from the Simeo member countries, honorable speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all. It's a great pleasure and honor for Senior Rexham to welcome all of you to this webinar on fostering digital citizenship through safe and responsible internet use. Organized in collaboration with Google and DQ Institute in conjunction with the 2022 Global Safer Internet Day. The objective of this webinar are to promote safe and positive online learning experiences in schools and to cultivate empower digital citizens. And secondly, to raise the awareness and interest on the importance of safety and digital citizenship in schools, ensure a safe online learning environment. Thirdly, it is to foster the digital citizenship in classroom and keep our students' data safe, private, and protected while harnessing open and distance education benefits. Fourth, to discuss common threats to personal security online, importance of respecting privacy and internet safety in schools. And finally, the objective is to discuss the power of digital footprints and information traceability. In this digital age, data and digital information are growing exponentially and the whole world is increasingly connected. Various types of information can be obtained through internet in a blinking of eyes. Digital transformation is accelerated with data and analysis, and it transforms our lifestyles and affects our daily routine. The COVID-19, the pandemic, has suddenly and abruptly forced schools and education to engage in such transformation. It is the lifeblood of organizations, companies, aerospace, healthcare, medical, automotive, e-commerce, share market, investment, insurance, banking, online shopping, business, constructions, criminal investigation, and e-learning or mobile learning. Online education is not only an alternative way for face-to-face education during COVID-19 pandemic, but also fostering lifelong learning. Digital transformation with automation is important to accelerate the journey to the cloud with modernized management with safe cyber security. Through the developments, adapt hold the promise of far-reaching positive change. This result in pose significant risks to the vulnerable people. Hence, data protection is a must to avoid data leakage, cyber attack, cyberbullying, disinformation, or hacking. Digital intelligence is essential and becomes vitally in the digitalization world. Digital intelligence, quotient DIQ, is encompass the digital identity, digital use, digital safety, digital security, digital emotional intelligence, digital literacy, and digital rights. In the era defining technology, digital footprints and informations are traceable from the perspective view of intelligent cloud and intelligent age. Data generated from IoT or application needs to be processed. We hope to draw the awareness of teachers and educators on the importance of digital citizenship and safety in order to provide a safe and healthy online learning environment for our children. As educators or parents, it is our responsibility to assist our children to justify the truthfulness of accuracy of information, develop their digital skills, and protect their digital profiles so that they can use digital media effectively, responsibly, and safely in this digitalization transformation world. Thank you, and I hope you all will enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shahjahan, for your remark. Next, we call upon our guest, Ms. Tenzin Norbu, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy Google, to give her remarks. After you, Ms. Tenzin Norbu.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Mr. Chanchun Singh, the CMO Council President and Minister of Education for Singapore, Dr. Ethel Agnes, Director of CMO Secretariat, Dr. Shah Jahan, Center Director, officials from the various ministries of education of our CMO member countries, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. I'm Tenzin Norbu, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Southeast Asia at Google. First of all, I would like to express my immense gratitude to CMO Rexam and the DQ Institute for organizing our first ASEAN Tech Talk and for inviting me to today's event as we commemorate our Safer Internet Day 2022. Thank you for ensuring that we have a forum to come together, share learnings and insights on digital literacy and online safety. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 2 years, people worldwide have relied on digital tools, services, and platforms more than ever. In Southeast Asia itself, our latest Southeast Asia e-economy report clearly indicated that digital is ingrained in people's everyday lives. Southeast Asia alone saw around 80 million new to internet users during the pandemic period. The majority of them intend to continue being online, transacting online. So clearly, this pandemic has accelerated digital adoption in our societies, and most importantly, highlighted how important it is to have digital skills, be media literate, and to be digitally safe. Ladies and gentlemen, for Google, protecting our users online has always been the top priority. That is why over the many years, we've built tools that protect the privacy and security of our users. Our very easy to use tools, which I hope many of you have already been able to use, for example, security checkup and privacy checkup, can really help you strengthen your security and privacy settings online. We also provide significant automatic protections across all of our platforms and products to keep users safe online. Just as an example, Gmail blocks more than 99% of spam, phishing attempts, and malware even before they ever reach your inbox. Ladies and gentlemen, internet safety is an evolving challenge, and we as Google are very committed to playing our part. Our investments in building products and platforms that are secure by default and private by design are critical towards this commitment. However, educating people about online safety is equally critical, and thus we are really committed to work closely with all stakeholders to promote digital literacy and online security best practices within our community, starting right here in Southeast Asia. Last October, together with the ASEAN Foundation, we launched ASEAN Digital Literacy Program to equip over 1,000 trainers with the right skills to deliver media literacy training to more than 100,000 people in local communities across the region for the next 2 years. And that includes everyone from youth, parents, the elderly, and teachers. I hope that all of you participating here today will also be able to participate in this ASEAN Digital Literacy Program in the next few months. In a world where technology is evolving rapidly, it's really vital that teachers have the knowledge and access to resources they need in order to equip students for the future. Our Be Internet Awesome curriculum is a great resource because it empowers students with the fundamentals of digital literacy in a fun and engaging way that they really respond to. And today, my colleagues Lucian Teo and Ryan Yerhado will be able to share more about the Be Internet Awesome program during their sessions. In closing, I'd just like to uh, emphasize that we have the responsibility to educate people around us and really equip them to be empowered, responsible digital citizens. And it's only together that we can make the internet an even better and safer place for ourselves, our children, our families, and the broader community at large. So, in order to commemorate Safer Internet Day 2022, I'd like to invite all of you to take one easy step today to protect your own Google account by taking the security checkup. It only takes 2 minutes to secure your account. So just visit g.co/security checkup and follow the easy step-by-step guidelines provided. I hope that this will make you feel more comfortable and safe online. These prevention tools and the initiatives for awareness raising and literacy that we'll be hearing about today are most essential and practical and very effective in fostering online safety over the long term. So once again, I thank you for having me and I thank you for your partnership and your participation. I'll hand it over to Dr. Ethel Agnes from CMEO Secretariat, and I really hope that you enjoy the rest of today's event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Tenzin Norbu. Next, we call upon Dr. Ethel Agnes Pascua Valenzuela, Director of CMEO Secretariat, to give her speech. After you, Dr. Ethel Agnes.
Director Tenzin Norbu, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy, Google, Dr. Shah Jahan bin Asanankar Kuti, Center Director, Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Regional Center for Education in Science and Mathematics, or CMEO Rexam, distinguished speakers and esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all from Bangkok, Thailand. It is an honor for me to join you in this opening session. In the 21st century, it is critical that children should develop digital skills since their childhood to ensure safe and effective engagement with digital technologies, whether at home, for use at school, or later on in life or in the workplace. According to OECD, effective engagement with digital technology includes number one, access. Most children in countries have access to the internet at home and have an unprecedented number of digital tools at their disposal. Two, use. Despite the widespread access, there remains a disparity in the use of digital technology and corresponding skills, especially between advantaged and disadvantaged children. This gap is widening. To secure access for most disadvantaged children and to assist in cultivating the skills, all children need to become active and ethical users of digital technology. Educational system must take an inclusive and comprehensive approach. Digital citizenship empowers children to be active and responsible members of society in the 21st century. With this in mind, CMEO has put digital citizenship at the core of its education agenda. It is in adopting a 21st century curriculum, which aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 4, promoting quality education, particularly on 4.4. By 2030, substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. And 4.7, by 2030, ensure all learners acquire knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles. In this regard, it is important that best practices on raising awareness of the importance of internet safety and digital citizenship in schools should be exchanged and adopted at regional and national levels to ensure a safe online learning environment while harnessing open and distance education benefits. In 2019, with UNESCO, we have collaborated in Digital Kids Asia Pacific project, which includes profiling of digital citizenship in Indonesia, in Lao PDR, and in the Philippines. We have developed policy briefs and shared DCAP key findings and policy options for Southeast Asian ministries of education, thereby promoting more literate, digitally, and responsible in using technology, particularly being engaged with society at any level. The COVID-19 pandemic has adversely impacted and interrupted the education sector, in which educational institutions have been forced to close. I'm delighted to share that despite the pandemic, Simeo-Rexam, Google, and DQ Institute have still managed to organize this timely webinar on fostering digital citizenship through safe and responsible internet use. This highlights the importance of collaboration in promoting safe and positive online learning experiences in schools. This important event today undoubtedly brings Southeast Asia closer to enhancing regional understanding, cooperation, and unity of purpose for developing digital competencies and resilience among students to the establishments of networks and partnerships, providing fora for policymakers and experts to share their rich experience and wisdom. CMEO, with 26 centers, 11 member countries, network associate affiliate members, are here to support these initiatives. We're here to provide more opportunities to promote digital citizenship and other important 21st century skills among children to sustain educational activities. Lastly, I would like to thank and congratulate Simeo Rexam, Google, and DQ Institute for your effort and hard work organizing this meaningful event to connect regional education stakeholders. And I wish you all the success and fruitful webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ethel Agnes. Next, we call upon His Excellency Mr. Chan Chun Sing, Senior Council President, Minister for Education of Singapore, to deliver his honorary remarks.
Ms. Tenzin Norbu, Director of Government Affairs and Public Policy, Google, Dr. Ethel Venezuela, Director of CMEO Secretariat, Dr. Shah Jahan bin Asanakuti, Center Director of CMEO Rexam, officials from CMEO member countries, distinguished speakers, guests, ladies and gentlemen. As President of the CMEO Council, it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you to CMEO Rexam's webinar on fostering digital citizenship through safe and responsible internet use, which is organized in collaboration with Google and DQ Institute to commemorate the 2022 Safer Internet Day. I would like to congratulate CMEO Rexam, Google, and DQ Institute for organizing this very timely webinar. The past 2 years have been challenging for all of us. On top of emphasizing the importance of safe distancing, mask wearing, and practicing good personal hygiene to students, teachers needed to adapt to engaging with and motivating students remotely. Education is not the only sector to have turned to technology to weather the pandemic, which has accelerated the digital transformation of ASEAN societies and further highlighted the importance of digital skills and literacy. Most careers now require employees to be proficient with digital technology for computing, communication, and content building. In response, ministries of education across ASEAN have been working to build our students' digital capacity. We know that as virtual modes of engagement become the new normal, it is increasingly important that our students be equipped with the skills to navigate the online world. I would like to highlight two concerns we have considered when designing digital literacy programs. First, now that so much of our lives are online, how can we cultivate a culture of digital safety and responsibility in our students. While the internet has expanded access to information, it has also increased the risk of cyberbullying, fake news, and data theft. It is therefore important that students are taught to make informed choices about their participation in online activities and platforms, and to recognize and protect themselves from online risks. Second, how can we encourage our students to embrace technology while maintaining a balance between offline and online activities? Safe and responsible internet use cannot only mean being responsible while on the internet. It also means recognizing the potential harms of excessive technology use and taking steps to mitigate said harms. Today, our speakers will share important insights on how to keep our schools safe online while taking advantage of the digital transformation that is happening in our education systems. I'm confident that this initiative will play a critical role in equipping teachers and educators across Southeast Asia with foundational digital skills. I would like to commend Simeo Rexam for its invaluable efforts to improve the digital literacy of teachers across Southeast Asia, as well as Google and the DQ Institute for supporting this initiative and sharing relevant materials that can help teachers and students be safe, confident explorers of the online world. As digital learning continues to expand, I encourage everyone here to continue to seize the opportunities that digitalization has afforded us and teach our students to become responsible and ethical digital citizens. I would like to wish all of you a meaningful and fruitful webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Chan Chun Sing. Okay, so we come to photo session. So may request all our guests and participants to switch on your cameras and give us your best smile. So we have few screens, so I will go one by one. Okay, we are in the screen 1. So let me count 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go to screen 2, 3, 2, 1. The next screen, 3, 2, 1. Another screen, 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to begin with the session, allow me to hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. Sharafuddin Abdushukur. Mr. Sharafuddin Abdushukur is an education specialist at Simeo Rexam. Over to you, Mr. Sharafuddin Abdushukur.
Thank you, Miss Siva. First, I would like to say selamat datang and thank you to all our panel speaker for joining us today. The format for today webinar will consist of the presentation by each expert panelist, followed by a question and answer. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Masato is an associate professor of Practice Journalism and Media Studies Center, the University of Hong Kong. He founded ANI, Asian Network of News and Information Educators, in 2019 to develop teaching and learning materials specific to the region with other like-minded experts in the field. In the last few years, Dr. Masato has led a 5-country UNESCO research and has written and edited a number of papers on information literacy within the Asia context. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Masato Kajimoto.
All right. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. Can you guys hear my voice okay?
Yes.
Yes, Doctor.
All right. Let me share my screen. I hope you're seeing my screen. Yes, no.
Yes, we see the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Okay,
can see the
sorry.
screen.
It's really hard to see. Again, good morning, everyone. My name is Masaru Kajimoto. I'm an associate professor of practice from the University of Hong Kong. And today I want to talk about digital citizenship and media literacy education in the classrooms. I would like to say though, I am a university educator and I've been researching misinformation ecosystem and teaching fact checking and news literacy since 2011. So I've been in this field for what 11, 12 years now. So if you do one thing for that long, you do develop certain knowledge and also thoughts, which I would like to share today. Um, sorry. Um, all right. So what you see on the screen is some of the papers that I've written in the past, and mostly they are concerning higher ed, so high school students and university students, not so much about kids in primary schools and lower secondary schools. So I will share my presentation today from that perspective. And I was told that many of you in the audience are actually educators. So I want to start by sharing some resources that we've developed as well in course on Coursera called Making Sense of the News, News Literacy Lessons for Digital Citizens. Was a joint project between my university and Stony Brook University. It's one of the State University of New York. And the course itself is free. So if you Google news literacy Coursera course, you will probably find our course very easily. If you look at the syllabus there, it's a 6-week course, but each week is really short, consisting of a series of video clips. And what you see on the screen is the syllabus. So each week we have 5 videos, 7 videos, 6 videos, and each video is 3-4 minutes. And the longest is 8 minutes. So if you're an educator looking for something to show to the students, you are more than welcome to join the course. And all those videos are downloadable. And inside the video, there are also Q&As and multiple choice quizzes. So feel free to use them. Another resources that I can share is that I do have this organization called ANI. Unfortunately, when I registered NPO at the end of 2019, it was the beginning of COVID, and it's my plan to fully engage with other educators in the region didn't really work out in 2020 and 2021. So this year, I'm hoping towards the end of the year at least, we can go much bigger than what we are now. But we do have on the website, newseducation.org, and I do have some lesson plans and activity plans and lots of videos that I gathered from YouTube, collection of YouTube videos in a way, embedded in lesson plans on this website as well. Again, feel free to use them. Now, when I say news and information education, I am talking about a very specific curriculum or focus within the big picture of media and information literacy. So this is how I conceptualize it. If you are academics in the audience, I don't see media and information literacy and fact checking and news education or journalism education the same thing. There are a lot of overlaps, but there are differences as well. And what I want to focus on in my organization and also in my teaching and research is the cross section of these 3 areas: media literacy education, news and journalism or information education, and fact checking. And since a lot of interest that we are getting from other educators in the region is increasingly about how to teach fact checking in classrooms, not for professional journalists, but how to teach children, teenagers, to do fact checking. To talk about this, I think it's important to know what the Stanford experiment is. Again, if you are working in this field for long enough, probably you already know what the Stanford experiment is and also what lateral reading is. But for those of you who do not know, I prepared this really short video. It's like 3 minutes, I think. And this is not my video. I take it from one of our, I wouldn't call him colleagues, but person who's really respected in this field in the US, Mike Caulfield. So he's going to be explaining what the Stanford experiment is in the 3-minute video. So hopefully can play back. All right.
So I want to show you two websites. This here is the first website. If you can see this, this is the American Academy of Pediatrics. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics is an organization founded in the 1930s, a budget of something like 80 million, 60,000 members, considered by pediatricians, scientists, and governments as one of the premier authorities on the health and well-being of children, okay? On the other hand, this is the American College of Pediatricians. Now, the American College of Pediatricians was founded to protest the adoption of children by same-sex couples, okay? It's not a professional organization. It's considered by many to be a single-issue hate group. So these two sites are from completely different universes, and it should be pretty easy to tell them apart, right? Some Stanford researchers recently looked at just that issue. They took three sets of people, Stanford students, professional historians, and professional fact checkers, sat them down in front of a computer, and gave them 5 minutes to figure out which would be the more credible source. So how did they do? Well, the answer is not very well. First, let's talk about the historians. Half of the historians couldn't say for sure which site was the more credible site. The Stanford students, how did they do? 65% actually chose the website considered by many to be a hate site as the more credible source. Finally, we had the professional fact checkers. The professional fact checkers, 100% of them got it right. And not only did they get it right, but they got it right quickly. A lot of people in the other groups used their full 5 minutes. These fact checkers got it right in seconds. So what accounts for that difference? The fact checkers, they used a set of skills that are web native, a set of skills that help them very quickly get to the truth of the matter. I want to show you how to use those skills, and that's what we're going to start to do in the next video.
Presentation to share some of the materials that I use in my teaching. And this, again, these are not coming from me, but Control F YouTube video is the one you watched a little bit. Michael Field advocates for SIFT to deal with information overload and potentially problematic content on the internet. So if you're interested in that, and Stanford experiment I mentioned, they do have a series of curriculums, again, lesson plans and concept notes free for you to use on their website. So, and also on YouTube, Crash Course by John Green, MediaWise, also sponsored by Google. They have a lot of robust media literacy content teachers can use or ask students to watch. So these are helpful. Unfortunately, all of them are very US-centric, and many of the instructions are not really applicable to Asian context, but some of the basics are universal in my view, and that's why I'm sharing these as well as our own. So I don't know how many of you could actually watch the video, but the point of the video was that teaching fact-checking actually helps not only professional journalists, but everyone, even professionally, well, even academically trained historians and PhD students in Stanford University get easily tricked. In case of students, most students were tricked in that experience by the good-looking website, then right? So teaching fact checking does have some value, and that's what I believe, and that's why I'm talking about this. And I do run a news website called Anilab, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5:30 every day. I mean, Monday through Friday. Recently, so it's a real newsroom on campus, and so in our newsroom, I'm the supervising editor, and I hired two guiding editors to guide the students, and all the students are written, produced by our own journalism students. And our website has recently gotten the International Fact-Checking Network's verified signatory certification. So we do take this seriously. But we don't consider our teaching model is vocational training. Again, yes, if you're journalism students, what you can get from our training is a skill that you can use for the future job, but we welcome all the other students from other majors. The idea or curriculum's goal is to train the future news audience in logical reasoning, analytical skills, and effective writing, or effective ways to communicate their findings and ideas, especially fact-based arguments, how to make that. So to do so in this age, obviously you need to know how to use digital tools and learn certain techniques, how to investigate certain things. And the next video I want to show, this one is around 4 minutes. And I asked 3 students to share what they learned in the kind of curriculum that we provide at our university in this fact-checking class. All the 3 students you see are journalism students, so they're a bit more probably advanced than other high school students or university students, but you get the idea as an educator, I think. So let me play it back.
I think the most memorable debunking for me was definitely the bus video. There was a video of a bus driving down a hill which was sped up and had a different audio track added to it. Although it was almost immediately apparent to us that the video was debunked, this was only the case for people who have a fair interest in Hong Kong news. So although it was quick to debunk the story, I think what was memorable about that experience was how we packaged that story and presented it to audiences who may not be familiar with the original audio track.
I think the story that I'm really proud of would be the one about the Zhangzhou flooding. And actually the story was based on a couple of videos and pictures showing that it claimed that after the Zhangzhou flooding, some animals, including whales and crocodiles, escaped from the aquarium there. I didn't expect that so many people, even though my mom and my brother sent me the video of saying that, oh, it's real. We know that it's really difficult to find evidence because you find the original video is not an easy thing. However, we really did that and we completed the story. So I think it's a really memorable experience for me. Before being a part in AnyLab, I had no idea on how to write a good news article or how to do news reporting. But after entering AnyLab, I have a lot of chances to do such things.
I would say what I learned from AnyLab is really sort of technical skills in journalism. So particularly in terms of verification. So when we encounter potentially false information or fake news, we need to go through our potential list of ways to verify that, and we go through the potential ways to verify that, maybe contacting experts or contacting authorities that are relevant to the story.
I came into fact-checking with very little idea of the kind of tools we use. So the primary thing that AnyLab taught me was the tools for fact-checking and just to know what kind of content to look for when you're fact-checking. I think there was this story about you saw multiple people in logged in kind of storage containers, and the claim was that these people are Mexicans and they have been trapped at the border because of Biden's policies. But turned out they were actually quarantine camps in China. So I did not speak Chinese, so I could not, I was not familiar with Chinese social media, Weibo. So that was a bit difficult for me to kind of debunk, but then I had the help of the people at Anilab. So it's more, fact checking is usually a lot of teamwork, and that's, I think, the best part of it.
I think one story we did on lampposts in Hong Kong was particularly challenging. Images were circulating online of lampposts with mysterious objects attached to them, and people were claiming that these objects could have been surveillance devices. So we had to get hold of experts of lampposts, which aren't particularly common, as well as government authorities to try and figure out what these objects were. Eventually, we were able to contact the relevant authorities as well as lamppost enthusiasts, those exist, and try and understand what these objects were. And in the end, they didn't turn out to be surveillance devices.
There are always some limitation when we are doing fact checking, because even though you spend a lot of time on it, you may not get the results that you want. You can't find the evidence to show that it's a fake news, even though you know it's properly manipulated. So, however, I still enjoy the process, like refining the evidence, because you just feel very excited when you find the things that you want.
So if you imagine every single student you teach has this kind of experience or reaction to the kind of information that they are exposed to on daily basis, you can see the value of this kind of pedagogy, I believe. So I do think teaching fact-checking, even in primary school, there is a way to teach basic fact-checking. But so I believe in this, but at the same time, I would like to caution as well, teaching fact-checking is not really teaching media and information literacy, the big picture. It's a really small part of what MIL, media and information literacy, can actually offer to the students. And I did prepare some examples, but I think for the interest of time, I will skip those slides, but just one. At the conceptual level, this is a very common way to teach diversity and different perspectives and ideas in media literacy education. And I took this slide from We Think Digital program from Facebook. But the idea here is that some people see a number and says 9, other people say 6, and they come from different perspectives. It's, it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about communicating why, you say it's 9, why you say it's 6, where do you come from? That's media literacy, and it's very important. But in fact checking, there is a definite answer to this question. Is this 6 or 9? In fact checking, what we are trying to teach our students is that, well, how can we find this out? Is there any way to track down who placed that number on the ground? Who put it in there? And what was his or her intention to put it in there? Did this person mean to say 9 or 6? Right? There has to be an intention behind this action. And how can we try to find that out? So that's fact checking. There's very different process that you have to teach. So if you go through the media literacy curriculum and compare that with fact checking curriculum that we provide, there are lots of overlaps, but at the same time, there are many different perspectives as well. So in fact checking, in this case, we say, oh, there has to be a definite answer, right? So in the problematic thing for educators teaching younger kids is that, which means one of the two is wrong and one of the two is right. So instead of, saying respecting people's other perspectives, in this case, how do we communicate that fact, right? So somebody made a mistake. How can we then tell that person that he or she is actually wrong? And here's a fact, right? Here's a statement from the person who put the number. So there are slightly different approach to the same issue and topic in fact-checking teaching instead of media, in comparison to media literacy. Anyway, with that said, lots of information that students are exposed to on daily basis, most of them cannot be fact-checked. They are not verifiable because they are hate speech opinions, speculations, guesswork, just emotional reactions to certain information, commentaries. So those things are not fact checkable. Therefore, teaching fact checking has its own big limitations as well. Now, I will end in 2-3 minutes. My important teaching philosophy, and I'm sure if you're an educator, all of you have your own. In my case, when I develop and design a curriculum, I always think that how can I encourage imagination, because that leads to empathy, right? If you have a funny YouTube video, ha ha ha, this is funny, share. Before you share, think about it. If the person who's made fun of in the video is your brother, would you share this? If the woman in the video who's completely mocked, if it's your mother, would you still share? So that kind of empathy, the imagination leads to empathy, and that leads to ethical thinking. And I think this is where many professionals get it wrong. They think that, well, let's correct the mistakes on the internet, let's fact check, and people will see through the lies behind it. And I don't think it works that way, right? It's much easier to change people's behavior if they're thinking ethically, right? Is this ethical to share? Is this ethical to say? Because somebody might actually believe this and then try and may harm themselves. So that kind of thinking probably leads to behavioral changes much more than just presenting facts to them. And logical reasoning leads to critical thinking, and analytical mindset leads to knowledge acquisition. So if you try to analyze something, oftentimes what students realize is that they don't know much. As an educator, when I start investigating with my students, I realize I don't know much. So that's where the curiosity is cultivated, and then we start like looking into things. And some of the examples that I use quite often is like simple statement like strawberries are vegetables. And it may sound ridiculous because most of us think that strawberries are fruits. But if you start looking into the botanical science and definition of what fruits are, you might be surprised, right? And it's very contextual because even though scientifically strawberries are not really fruits, or it's actually a multiple fruits, or you're actually buying the whole plant rather than just a fruit when you buy strawberries. But in the context of commerce, right, in the context of running supermarket, that definition doesn't fly. So there is a difference between scientific definition of what fruits are and which category strawberries belong to versus how to run a supermarket business. So that kind of context can also be introduced. So these are the kind of things that I try to do in my teaching. And better communication skills obviously leads to mutual understanding. Now, with that all said, we did a research with UNESCO about media and information literacy education policies and practices in many 5 Asian countries. This was published in 2020. And we did find many challenges. Political and cultural sensitivity of these topics is very serious concern for teachers in Asia. It's really hard to talk about sensitive issues in class but at the same time, those are the ones who you actually have to discuss with students, but it's really difficult. Emphasis on teaching because it's difficult to talk about political issues, and protecting children is easier than empowering children in that sense, right? Don't talk about politics, don't talk about hate, don't talk about minority groups. It's much easier to say, let's try to bring this up on the table and discuss why we have discrimination against minority groups. What's the cause? That's really difficult. So instead, many teachers tend to emphasize technical skills, ICT competencies, and that's a problem in my view. And there is no clear definition of what needs to be taught. And because this lack of understanding of what needs to be taught, and obviously many teachers are not trained to teach MIL in the first place. And there are many actors involved in this field, but unfortunately coordination is not really happening. So one example, I don't know how many of you could actually watch the Mike's video, but in the Western context, Wikipedia is a good starting point for any research. In Asian context, not so much, because in Asian languages, Wikipedia is really a wild, wide west. I mean, information is not reliable at all. The sources are not reliable at all. So when I teach Wikipedia strategy, lateral reading, instead of using Wikipedia as a source of information, I teach my students how to actually contribute to Wikipedia page as an editor in their own languages. So to write something on Wikipedia, they have to research a lot. They have to hit the library, look at the encyclopedia. They have to do a lot of research. So actually becoming an editor for Wikipedia is much more enriching educational opportunities for many Asian students than using Wikipedia. So there is a bit of shift in teaching. So, and all those skills and techniques that in fact checking I teach, I would also incorporate why it's important to understand what journalism is and what, why we need to learn how to identify quality information. Anyway, I will, well, I don't know if this is an appropriate thing to say, but digital citizenship can be really hard to teach in countries where free speech is limited or press freedom is not guaranteed, because quality information is censored out. It's hard to get. And the drawback of that is because quality information is not present, people believe in nonsense. And this is the counterproductive part of censorship, right? Because people know that information is censored. So they second guess, third guess, and fall for conspiracy theories. So that's the tendency that we have observed in many Asian countries. Anyway, I stop here. If you are interested in collaboration or in our curriculum, please get in touch. That's my name and my email address and my Twitter account and our group Facebook page. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Masato. Thank you for your highlighting about the fact checkings. You're highlighting about the using of Wikipedia. It's very interesting. Um, so I would like to thank you again, Dr. Masato. So I'd like to remind all the participants, you can start asking, write down your question in the chat box. And again, I would like to say thank you for those who unmute their mic, and for the rest of the session, we like to make this as smooth as possible. Okay, now I'm pleased to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Lucien. Mr. Lucien is the Online Safety Global Lead and Trust and Safety Transparency Lead at Google APAC. He leads Google's effort to promote online safety education globally. Before joining Google, Lucien served in the Singapore government as the Chief Information Officer within the Prime Minister's office and led digital communication teams in a number of government agencies. Mr. Lucien presentation entitled Essential Online Safety Habits Everyone Should Know. Over to you, Mr. Lucien.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
That is great. So welcome everyone from Singapore. It's so good to see all of you online. I mean, I would love to be in a room with everybody, and then have breakfast together, and then we can chat about things after the talk. But this has been the last 2 years for us, and it's been quite difficult. So let me switch the screens a little bit. So I'll be presenting with the screens behind me. So this is what the Singapore office looks like. I've only been back a handful of times in the last few years, and most of it is in the corner of my bedroom. No, the bathroom is right behind me. That's why I got a green screen to block everything. But we're all getting used to this, right? Everything is changing. Like many speakers before me mentioned, we've moved so many things online, right? Never in my life would I see grandparents learn how to use online payments, but now all of them know how to use online payment. The last 2 years has been a huge learning curve for many of us. And for the digital natives or the young people, it's been an adjustment period as well. I mean, the last time they'll go out to play, now a little bit more online gaming. One thing that I used to do was talk to parents about what their main concerns were. And the number one concern before the pandemic was always screen time. How much time? How much time should my child spend? My child spent too much time. The moment the pandemic hit, right, and I went back to parents and asked, what's the concern? Nobody talk about screen time anymore. Because it's one of those things we know it's still a concern, but we can't do much about it, right? We don't know, school is online, everything is online, the teacher's teaching online. Mike, need to turn off your camera, need to turn on your camera, there's so many things we all need to learn. And one of the difficult parts is the online harms become more real to us. One of the things we were postulating when the pandemic hit was that financial fraud would be a big thing. Because as more people link up to online payments, it means that you can pay online, you can transfer money online. And when that is enabled, a lot of people can lose money. So I end of last year, I was just thinking back, like reflecting on life, right? End of year, New Year resolution, that kind of thing. And I was thinking, I've been working with young people in some form or another for about 30 years now. Started off as a volunteer when I was a teenager, then you move up, and you work with them for a long time. Oftentimes, right, as adults, we like to gather in meetings like this, in rooms like this. And one of our favorite pastime is to talk about young people. Not to talk about, oh, no, that generation, they need to learn this, or why are they like that, or why is this wrong? And I realized that is really unproductive. It doesn't help. It kind of maybe puts the load off us, right? It points the spotlight at somebody else. But whenever I see something of concern in the younger generation, my first question, and I think all of us should be, is to look at ourselves and did we be a good example for them? Which is why I wanted us to go through all these safety habits we all need to learn, because we need to mirror this, right? I've spoken to some of you, I think over the years, I've spoken to a number of you, and you know this, I've told you, you need to have different passwords for all your accounts, right? I've said this over and over again. I know many of you have heard it before, but how many of you have actually changed, right? I've given you years, nobody changed. So in a sense, we become hard to teach, and then we point to the children and say, why are they so hard to teach? And a lot of it comes down to mindset, because we think of online safety. Let me use a story, right? Our perception of online safety. So let's say pandemic, you get tired of being at home, you go camping in a place where it's approved. You go camping with a few friends, you're in the tent together, and then corner of your eye, you look out your tent, right? You see a leopard. Oh, now you start panicking, the leopard's coming closer, right? And you tell your friends, hey, guys, we gotta run, the leopard's coming. And then you see your friend putting on the sports shoe. And you're like, what rubbish are you talking about? We gotta run now. There's no way you can run faster than the leopard, right? And then your friend said, I don't need to run faster than a leopard, right? I just need to run faster than you. I just need to beat the last person. So when it comes to online safety, we always think, well, I'm smarter than my grandmother, so I won't get scammed. So when she gets scammed, then I get worried. But even then, maybe not so, because I'm still smarter than so many people. What you don't realize is scammers don't think like the leopard. They look at us like this. They look at us like fish. They see one school of fish, right? And for most scammers, they have a number of strategies they use, right? One of it, they cast a big net. No, it may seem like a stupid scam, but there used to be this, so I'm a prince. I send you a lot email, right? If you give me money, I'll give you a few $1,000,000. You just give me $100 to unlock my few $1,000,000 and I'll give it to you. And then we read these emails and we go like, that's not a very smart scam. Anybody can see through it. You don't understand. They send this to millions of people. They just need 0.01% of people to respond, right? Somebody who's thinking like, wow, I can't believe royalty will email me, right? I want to respond. And this is the huge net that they cast, and those people get scammed. And then you got the smarter scams where they target spots a little bit more. And we see this a lot more recently, right? With the banking scams going across Asia. You see things like, oh, no, maybe we have a job for you. No, we know that jobs are hard to come by during pandemic. We've got a very good paying job. If only you sign up for our account and you deposit a bit of money, we'll tell you what the job is. So we see scams like that target smaller groups of people, a lot more effective. The rate is a lot higher. right? So you understand, it's not about the last person, it's about everybody. And of course, you have the spear phishing scams. These are the ones where if you are a high valuable target, they will craft one specially for you. And these are the ones that are really hard to fight because they know exactly who they want. They already know your birthday. They probably know your ID, your government ID number. They know your family members. You know, they'll call you up. They'll say that, oh, we know that one of your friends, right? He went overseas. He's in trouble now, and they know because they follow you on social media. They know which friend that you're close to, that you speak to often. Your friend is hurt. Your friend needs a bit of money because we're in the hospital. We want to operate on him, but he doesn't have the funds. Can you send over the funds now? We need it in the next 45 minutes. Otherwise, you know, we can't do the operation. He might die. So those are the scams that are difficult, but we won't cover those because those are really specific. If you are a high value individual, I really consider talking to a security professional and you start blocking out those things. But back to the basics, right? If you're wondering about these things in the last 2 years, oh, is my phone hacked? Is this a password scam? Is this thing real? You're not the only one. We've seen queries like this on Google search rise up a lot during the pandemic. A lot of people are asking these questions because they're seeing it, right? You get it on your instant messaging. You get it on your social media. Sometimes you don't know if it's true. So I'm really glad Dr. Masato talked about fact checking because it's really important. How do we know what's true? It is really hard these days. It's hard for us. It's hard for our children. You know, we say they're digital natives, but frankly, they and us, we both seen TikTok rise at the same time. It's not like they saw TikTok rise 10 years ago and we're just coming to it. You know, we're all addressing similar technological changes at the same time. So native or not native, we have to face new challenges together. So we always talk about malwares and viruses. These are things, you know, the old school, we always say don't anyhow download, right? Don't download stuff you don't know. Malware, viruses are stuff you download into your app, into your phone, your computer that kind of compromises the security of your computer. And the one thing we talk about, when you want to prevent all these downloads, always know where you download from, right? Given that you're educators, I'll share this with you. I normally try not to share this with too many people because sometimes when you share about scams, you know, occasionally you get the very bright student sitting in the audience and you can see them light up, right? When you talk about certain scam. And then you realize you're not teaching them how to prevent it. You might be teaching them how to do it. But I trust you guys. You guys are educators, right? So trusted circle. One of the things that scammers do, they just leave a USB drive on your desk. You want to know who it is, right? You plug it in, right? And then you see, oh, who's the owner? What files inside? You already compromise your system. You know, so we always be very careful what we load into our system, what we load into our phones, things that we use, all these things. Then we come to phishing. This has been a huge problem in the last few months. You know, in Singapore, I just went to the bank with my daughter a few days ago, right? And huge campaign. Everybody's telling you, be careful of the scam because we have a lot of people who have lost a lot of money. They lost their life savings to phishing scams. Phishing is when somebody puts up a website that looks like your bank website, may look like your school website, may look like the legitimate website you want to go to. You key in your login, but actually it's not your site. So somebody now has your login and your password and everything, right? And normally they try to get money information out of you. So we always tell people, you look out when you get an email. You know, it's easy because you just see name, right? You see the name you're familiar with. They also know your friend, so they can pretend to be your friend. A lot of the scam victims I speak to, the email came from their boss. Their boss got urgent request. I need to buy gift card because we need to thank the speakers, you know. No, later you need to send something to Lucian or Dr. Masato. We need to send a gift card. Can you buy $2,000 worth? And then you give me all the code so I can thank them through an email. And when you buy the thing, too bad, man, there's no trace. You paid in cash and then you wait for the company to pay you back. It doesn't come. So you need to see the email carefully. Where is it coming from? And then whenever they ask you for personal details or bank details, that's when your antenna really needs to go up because before you give any of this, really make sure you know who you're talking to. And then if they send, normally they say, oh, I send you the link, right? Your account has been compromised. You click on this link to kind of verify your account. And for convenience sake, we click on the link because it's easier that way. I verify. And you click on the link, you go to the phishing site. You don't realize it's a site. So emails are something like this. Check the top, make sure it's the correct correct? Person sending to you, whenever you see update your account information, be wary. Whenever you see a button or a link, pause before you click it, right? So one tip I would really say is don't respond to any of this. The truth is, we don't know if they're real. I'm not saying all of that is fake. No, because sometimes, right, your bank could send you an email, but it doesn't, you look at the email URL, it's not the same. But they go like, don't worry, this is our service center. They use a slightly different one. I'm like, how do I know? I don't know, right? So I don't know if it's true or false. So the one thing you do is don't respond to that. You be the one to initiate the contact. Which means if somebody calls you and says, hey, your banking, you have some problems, you can say, okay, I'll check, don't worry, I'll take your word for it, but let's hang up, I'll call my bank, right? Put down the phone, call direct, right? Don't respond to the email directly. So if your professor from your school says, oh, I really need your banking details and all that, can you send it to me now? You say, yeah, I can send it to you. Close that email. Don't hit reply. Close that email. Go to your email, open up a new email, key in your professor's email address, write that email, and then ask, did you request for this information because I got something from you? So be the one to initiate the contact so you know exactly who you're talking to, who you're going to. Every time you see the link, same thing. Don't click on the banking link. Close it, go to the bank website, log in to the bank website you know that's true, and then ask them, oh, do you really need to verify my account? So these are things really useful, especially in this day and age. I will go through quite quickly. I think we'll try to keep it as short as we can, right? A few tips, right? We've talked about stronger passwords, two-step verification and all that. We'll go through this. Everybody knows what strong passwords are. Every child I've spoken to, even 6-year-olds have told me they know. Oh, must have the number, must be difficult to remember, must be the one I always forget, and then I need to press shift, I need to do all the funny things. Yeah, that's a strong password. Yeah, everybody knows this, and then you have that one strong password that you use everywhere, and problem is once one site gets compromised, all your sites get compromised because you just use the same passwords. Again, I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell you for so many years. Use different passwords for every account. You will nod your head, right? And then this presentation is over. You will think, oh man, I got so many passwords. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick to the same one. So maybe you feel your life is like this. I have too many keys. I can't have so many keys. I just need one key or maybe two keys, right? And I'm telling you, it's not safe. It's not safe, right? I even teach people, right, to create your own strong password. You have that one strong password, fine. Just take a few letters off every account you want to log in, take a few letters off and put it in your super strong password. So every password is now different. Do you understand that? That's a free way to do it. Now every password is different. So if I lose that one, I only lose the login to the Google one. Right? For the Amazon one, the 3 red letters are different. Right? For my school one, the 3 red letters. Don't tell people where you're putting in the letters. Don't tell people which letters you're taking. But this way, every password is a unique password. But frankly, the best one is use a password manager. It's a lot easier. Every time you go to the site, the password manager will verify the URL of the site for you and then put in the password for you. You don't even need to type it. I don't even know my passwords because the password manager handles it all, right? Of these 3, I mean, there are a lot of reputable ones. These are just 3 I bring up. No prizes for guessing which one I want to recommend you. One of them is free, 2 of them are not, but I suggest go to one reputable password manager, do your research, use it. Right? That way you only keep your eye on one password manager. You don't have to keep your eye on the million sites you log in, hoping not a single one of them get compromised so that you don't lose your master password to all your sites. Because scammers are smart. They don't scam you once. They don't scam you on one platform. If I can hit all your platforms, I'll steal everything. I'll steal your bank. I'll steal your social media. I'll steal your email. I'll steal everything. Why would I stop there, right? If you use the same password, you made yourself vulnerable. I'll even go as far to say, if let's say the old school put it in a notebook, right? And when you got your first PIN number, people tell you don't write it down. Write down your online passwords. It's safer than not writing it down. I mean, I'd rather you do this than you use the same one everywhere. Because the people that will steal your notebook are people around you, right? And if you have friends you can't trust, change your friends. That's a problem you need to get sorted in your life, right? But of course, if you write on a notebook, have 2 copies, please, because chances of you losing one notebook very high. So 2 copies, mirror them, one keep in the safe, one bring along. Simple tips, right? Old school tricks, they work all the time. Yeah, and then if your friends really bother you, Yeah, I mean, you got to have that talk. And then, I mean, if you're using Google account or any account, set up the recovery phone and email. Should your email get compromised, they need to be able to know you are the right person. If your email is compromised and they have no other way of saying that you are the actual person, you lose the whole email entirely. There's no way of proving it, right? There's a site here. I recommend How Secure Is My Password.net, if you can see behind me. It has a very cool feature. You just key in any password, they tell you, oh, through brute force, how long it takes to crack it. One tip, don't put in your real password, please. Don't put in your real password to anything. Okay, basically, if I tell you that, hey, I got this app that tells you how strong your password, you just key on your password, right? Then you should be, spider sense should alert you that that's a scam. Don't put in your real password. Put in something that the simulates your password, I suppose, is the way to say it. All right, well, you guys know what two-step verification is? Most banks will have it. You get your token or you use your phone. One thing we're finding, don't use SMS, because I think the scammers have now learned how to spoof at your phone number quite easily. So if you use SMS as your two-step and they've targeted you, which means they already have your PIN number and they have your login, right? They just need the token. If they get a SIM card that can spoof your number, they will get the same SMS as you get. And that's how they log in. So if you can, use the app version of the two-step verification. Better yet, if you can get a security key, you can Google what a security key is. You can buy one off Amazon, I think, if you can. Those things are USB. They can also be they can be touch. So you can activate them. They're hardware. It's like a physical key that you use, right? So that would really be stronger than an SMS. So if you're still an SMS two-step verification, try to get off it if you can. Download an authenticator app, download the banking app, use those instead. Secure your device. This is stuff that we taught 10 years ago, no? It's coming back now. The problem is we now wear masks, right? And for those of you using facial recognition, you realize your phone doesn't unlock. You must keep pulling it down and it gets annoying after a while. So I've noticed a lot of people have started turning off the need to lock their phone. So their phone stays on all the time. Now, this is horrible because your phone, a lot of the time, is the free login to all your accounts. Think about it. You go to your social media, you tap on your phone, it doesn't ask you for password, it's already logged in. Right? So losing your phone, and if you tell people your PIN number, your password, you use a PIN or something that's easy to remember, or you don't even lock it. Whoever takes your phone has access to everything. What is worse is that your phone is also your two-factor authentication. So I can log in. The two-factor comes in through the phone. I have everything I need to bring the account. So while I told you that the people that steal your notebook, right, is the friends you need to change, your phone is a high-value target. Those also can get stolen. No, we know not to leave our phone around, but please lock it. So keep your devices updated. We know that a lot of you see things like this, like, oh, please update your phone, please update your computer, and then we think like, later, right? We'll always think, we'll do it when we get home, right? Now on mobile data, expensive, so I'll wait until I go home and do it. You go home, I want to just watch. I don't want to have to restart my computer. I want to watch my online video. I want to do my social media. And you keep pushing it back. No, what you don't know, right? I mean, as a software developer before, whenever we face security issues, we panic and we try to fix it. And then when we fix it, we push it out and we want people faster update so that we close the security holes, right? It may say simple things like, oh, bug fixes, right? You don't know. Behind, we're panicking and going like, might be a security breach, we're fixing the bug. And you go like, oh, it's always bug fix. I don't need to fix the bug. I don't face the bug anyway. But what the problem is, when these things are released, scammers know what the bugs are because they follow the versioning, right? They know what bug was fixed. They know who didn't fix the bug. And then you leave the front door open for everybody to walk in. Yeah. So you keep your app. Somebody asked any slide. Oh, it's the slides are all behind me. So if you can just see my video, I think you should be able to see me. So you keep your app data protected. So a lot of people, maybe it's a few years ago, you play things like Candy Crush, right? And then you say, oh, I'm okay to play Candy Crush. I'm willing to share my email. I'm willing to share, some apps will ask for some information. So maybe a long time ago, I don't know if you all use Foursquare, right? Long time ago. Then they say you need to share your location, right? Because you need to go all different places and check in. 10 years later, you don't know. You're still sharing with them because you never disabled all the permissions you shared with these developers. Go back. Find out what you're sharing with people. If you use your Google account to share, you go to myaccount.google.com. We'll show you which apps have permissions to share what information, right? And then it's time to start going through them and going, I don't use this anymore. I don't use this anymore. I don't protect your account. I mean, just now, no, Tenzin shared. We at Google, we build things with your privacy in mind. We do. We make it possible for you to see everything. Excuse me. But the problem is, we need to tell you to be vigilant about your own data, right? We can put it there for you. If you don't do it, it's still going to be shared. Go and disable all the stuff you need to disable. You know, we made it quite easy. And occasionally, I know a few minutes left, I'll rush through this. Occasionally, you see red signs like this. When you're going to a website, you see red signs like this. This is from our safe browsing team, right? They scan the entire internet. They look for phishing sites. They look for sites with malicious downloads. They look for stuff like that. This is their warning to you that, hey, the site you're going to might be harmful, right? Most people look at this and go like, this is so bothersome. Where do I click to get past this warning page? The warning is real, okay? Please pay attention, right? We allow people to go through because some people might be doing research, right? But most of the time, those sites have proven to be phishing sites. They prove to be malicious sites. So pay attention to these things. You know, don't send information over them. And if you're using public Wi-Fi and all that, be really, really careful, right? HTTPS, better than HTTP. These are secure things. I think most of you know about this already. And the last slide I have, no, you were told, take your security checkup. So this is a link I want you all to remember, g.co/security checkup, right? When you go there, we tell you a great ton of things, right? Your email, if you're using Gmail, your email is the one place where as a scammer, I would go for first. Because when I have your email, I can go and to every single login and I can say, I forgot password. It comes through your email. So you need to protect your email as much as possible. The security checkup tells you which computers have accessed your Google account, right? I know many of us have maybe one phone, some have two phones, some have one laptop, some have one desktop. You want to check which are the devices that still have access to your Google account. You may want to disable them, especially because sometimes we resell our phone, right? We sell away our phone. We didn't realize the phone that we sell still has access to our Google account. You can disable it all from the security checkup. These are just some of the many features inside a security checkup. So I hope you will take my advice, check it out. And through doing all these things for us as educators, right, we develop the good habits. And then we can tell our children, we can tell our students, these are the habits you need to keep yourself safe. Otherwise, if we don't do this, it's really like the chicken and duck talking. They talk, oh, they're digital natives. We are not. We don't know how to do. No, we need to be digital natives as well. We need to protect ourselves. Only then, when we put on our seatbelt, then we can put on a seatbelt for the kids behind us. So that's all I have for today. Thank you very much. I hope this was educational and hopefully a little bit entertaining. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you. Now I'm you make me afraid. Now I have to do the security checkup after this.
Please
But
do.
you hit most of the point there. I mean, you begin reflecting on me, I guess. All right, Mr. Lucian, thank you for your tips, especially about the security checkup from Google. That's very important. And without further ado, thank you again, Mr. Lucian. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our last but not least speaker, Dr. Yu Yun Park, founder of DQ Institute. Dr. Park is a world-leading expert in digital skills and child online safety. She created the Digital Intelligence DQ concept and framework, which is the world's first global standards and a common framework for digital literacy, skills, and readiness endorsed by the IEEE Standards Association, OECD, and World Economic Forum in 2018. As we know, ladies and gentlemen, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, our children's screen time increases. This translates to higher exposure to digital footprint issues. We like to hear more from our award-winning expert regarding this issue. Over to you, Dr. Park.
Hello, everyone. Before I start, I see that there are people in the lobby. So organizer, if you want to check out to bring in more people in, it's just housekeeping. um, and thank you very much for the kind introductions and then the amazing event today. And I really enjoyed a lot the previous two speakers' presentations, which are enormously important and relevant. And I am so proud to be part of this speakers group. So let me share my slide. Okay. Can you see the slide? Okay, so so teachers, have you heard about the word DQ? So I was told that in Philippines, DQ means the drama queen, and in the US is a daily queen, but actually DQ means digital intelligence. So today I want to talk about a few things about the questions. 3 questions. So people talk about digital skills a lot, right? Digital literacy, digital skills, and so many different words. But what is a digital skills that we need to really teach in the class? And second, today's topic is digital citizenship. Then what is digital citizenship? How shall we define it? How shall we teach it? The third question that I'd like to talk is that what is the role of teachers? So let's dive in. The previous speaker, to Dr. Masato, Professor Kajimoto, talked about what are the difference between the media and information literacy and fact checkings and more. But we have a lot more language to describe about the digital skills in totally different way by totally different group of people. So digital literacy, you hear about the digital citizenship and what is it like ICT skill? And European Commissions talk about digital competence. And people talk a lot about the coding and programming. And I believe you may have this kind of reactions because whenever I give a talk, I ask the audience, when you hear the word digital skills, digital literacy, media literacy, what are the feelings that you get? And most of teacher feels like, I don't know what to teach. I never been taught. So it's a fear, it's a starting point to think about the digital skills. And many people say, it's only for small people. It's not for me. It's too complex. And also a lot of teachers feel outdated. I think my students know better than me, my kids better than me. So I don't know where to start. So that's usually the general reactions that we get from teachers as well as the parents. So as Lucian said, it seems like kids know better, but he rightly point out, use a lot doesn't mean that they know a lot, right? Just Professor Masato also say, even professional, academically trained historian cannot do the fact checking correctly. So we have to think that we are in the same baseline. And a lot of teachers also think that, oh, there are new technology, ed tech programs comes in. Oh, what should I do? But one thing that we want to ensure, teachers are much important and you know much better than any technology that you're going to bring into your class. So I want to start with you in the one word. Let's be confident. Let's take our power back. Okay, so let's think about the digital skill. Let's make it simple. So digital skill is just say, competence, ability that you need to live and deal with the challenge and thrive in the digitized society. Yes, it is not simple at all, right? So what are the ability? So when I developed the DQ, I wanted to make it very simple. Just like IQ, just like EQ. You need now in digitized society, you need DQ. So when you feel like, oh, I don't know how to do the fact checking, I don't know how to deal with the scam. Oh, then you may say, oh, I have a low DQ. I need to enhance my DQ. So DQ goes like all dimension of digital skills, all dimensions of digital life. So we want to have identity, build the right identity in the digital world. We want to have the right use, balanced, healthy civic use. And we want to be safe, right? We want to be secure, which the Lucian just described about very important step. You need to be secure online. And you want to have the emotional intelligence. You want to have empathy, just like Dr. Masato say. You need empathy in even dealing with the information. You need to have digital communications competencies. You know how to communicate online. You know how to read and write and participate, which is digital literacy, which includes coding and more. And you need to think about what is your right, what is your privacy, what is your freedom of speech. So all this, every ability that you need for to live in the digitized society, that's DQ. So DQ was developed to be the most comprehensive, the set of skills that you need in this digital age. But it's like you see, we have a large, big frameworks of 8 different areas, and we have 3 different levels. So starting with digital citizenship, which means that you know how to live online safely, responsibly, ethically. When you know how to live online, you can create. So that's digital creativity. So basically coding and makers, all this movement can be part of digital creativity. And when you know how to create, you need to translate into the innovation, which means that it can be entrepreneurship, it can be job skills, it can be social impact. So it is innovation skills that we are talking about. So this is high-level digital skills that you can think about. The reason that I want to give this high-level understanding is that when you know that there's a framework, it's easy for you to plug in. Oh, this is the curriculum that I'm teaching, A, B, C, D, E. And it has been, it became the IEEE global standard for digital skills. That doesn't mean that you need to adopt the DQ as a gold standard. It means that there's a good reference framework that you can go up and look when you think about how you want to actually structure your digital skills program. But I will not go into details about the standard. So, okay. Do we have a time for this video? So this is actually wrapping up about what digital intelligence is about.
Sure, sure. Dr. Park, can you, excuse
Yep.
me, Dr. Park, can you increase the volume? We hardly hear the video. Thank you.
So now you understand what are the digital skills. So you don't need to be afraid when people say, oh, you need to teach digital skills. And you feel confident that, oh, high level, I know what digital skills that I need to teach. And now we need to think about why digital citizenship, right? Fact checking and all this is important, but why? So I want to start with this video. Okay, somehow. Today, the internet is very, very slow. Okay. Okay. Is it coming?
The internet, smartphones, and social
Okay, I can
media.
hear the audio. All right, can see it
Is
now.
it,
Yeah, we can see it.
can you see the audio?
In the thoughts of parents and teachers. But are we really facing what some
Yeah, we can
experts
see
call
the audio.
a pandemic?
Can
Well, a
you
new report
can you hear
believes we
the
are. It found
audio as
that
well?
over half of 8 to 12-year-olds are exposed to cyber risks, such as cyberbullying, fake news, and online sexual abuse. The number of those at risk rises in countries undergoing rapid digital transformation. 71% in Egypt, the same percentage in Indonesia and in the Philippines. The figure is 73%. And by 2020, estimated that over 725 million children aged from 8 to 12 will be online, and more than 90% of these will be from those countries experiencing that rapid rate of digital penetration. And those countries are where cyber risks.
Okay. So this is actually the report that we had. I'm sorry, somehow this is, yeah. This was a report that we published in 2018, quite a while ago. And the number, this number, 60%, before 50, 60%, right? And 60% we published right before COVID happened. So 2020, the early February. So you see that the number has not been changed a lot. And actually our data shows that this number is kind of being stabilized in a way, not really like increasing a lot or decreasing a lot either, which the reason that we actually are quite concerned about this, the high level of exposure of cyber risk among children. And what we found is that this risk goes up for this actually in the region, in Asia Pacific especially, in the ASEAN country even more. And what we found is that when there's a high speed of digital transformation happen without the proper educations on the digital citizenship, children are not really ready to use the technology in a safe and responsible way. So even though they may be good at some expert on the social media or coding, but actually they may be exposed to several cyber risks. So one thing I wanted to ensure is that risk doesn't mean that harm. It's two different things. So please don't think that it is about children are in harm. Risk is risk, potential a risk to be leading to the harm. So we see that there's the highest part is a cyberbullying, and also the overuse of technology like social media and gaming addictions. I should avoid using the word addiction, but in a high exposure to the risky content and context. So if you think about this number, it is very important for you to start talking about digital citizenship. So digital citizenship is not about the protection. You know, just previous speakers say, protection is easy, but empowerment is much more important. I absolutely agree with him. So it is important is that we need to enhance peoples to have the higher level of thinking ability. Two, for them to be actively minimizing the risk and maximizing the potential. So it is not about you take away the device from the children. It is about giving them empowerment, authority, as well as a skills, knowledge, attitude for them to be the safe and responsible user. That is about the digital citizenship is about. So you remember the Q frameworks, and the first level of the digital citizenship was first level of digital intelligence was digital citizenship. And then we picked the 8 topics. Digital citizen identity, balanced use of technology. In other words, is a screen time management, but cyberbullying management and cybersecurity management, digital empathy, digital footprint, and critical thinking, which include the media and information literacy, which is huge, and the privacy management. So this area is not really like small area. It's actually huge area that can actually have a different part of the trainings inside. So we need more people like Dr. Masato. So who can bring such a huge wisdom to us. So just to try to make it simple, to think about how we can make our children to become a better digital citizens. So you think about, you go into the digital world, starting with mobile or computer, wherever. So when you go in, we want them to be disciplined use of technology, which is balanced use of technology. And then when they go in, now they're in the digital world. They need to understand what is the basic nature of online communications, which is about digital footprint management, and you know how to be as a private person and privacy management. And then you need to have critical thinking, which is including fact checking and others, to think about when you confront with the information, content, and context, how to make a right decision, right? It's also and this is about right decision, as Dr. Masato said. When you have those critical reasoning, you know how to protect yourself from the risk, behavior risk like a cyberbullying, but at the same time, how you actually smartly protect your data and devices, as Lucian actually talked about. And moreover, it is not stopped there. You need to build a healthy relationship with others, which is digital empathy, and which is also affecting about the fact checking, as Dr. Masato say. And with all this, we want children to have a healthy and strong digital citizen, having the identity as an ethical digital citizen. So how can I teach this in my class? There are actually a lot of excellent programs. I just put it in the 3 programs that we have actually certified with the DQ seal. As Lucian said, there's lots of great materials. So, and Dr. Masato also introduced the various materials which you want to take a look at it. Key is that there are lots of great materials. So once you have a frame of mindset, you know what to look for, there are lots of great materials that you can utilize in your classroom. So now what is the role of teachers? This is actually a news article that was published in 2017 or so, very long time ago. And there was an interview was done at actually the teachers conference, the Global Education and Skills Forum that was held in Dubai. The reason I brought it up was that was my first experience with the teachers big conference. And this interview was about the two people, the Thomas Freeman, who is a very famous columnist in New York Times. And what he talked about and what we talked about was quite similar. What we are saying is that don't teach kids coding, teach them how to live online. That doesn't mean that coding is not important. Coding is very important. What we are saying is that before or when you teach coding, you want to teach them digital citizenship first together. So this is what we think is must-have digital skills, which I think, what teachers' role is that, of course, there are so also great materials and knowledge and skills that we can find online. Once they become a right digital citizen, there's information out there. They will go and they will learn together with you. The first thing, the role I believe is that we want to have children to be the right digital citizen. And there's nobody else but you in the world can do that job. So I think, teachers, you are enormously, enormously important. When people talk about the future, actually, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, yes, that's great. They have a great mind, great brilliant mind, great brilliant technical skills, but that starts from you. So tomorrow, Steve Jobs in Philippines is in your hands, and you want them to be the great digital citizen first. So the lastly and not least, together with Senior Rascom, we actually start with dqindex.org, which is actually digital citizenship test that you can go and easily do. So after this session, you can go and actually take yourself about the level of digital skills, and then you can actually utilize these tools to test your children's as well. And we found, based on our data, we saw actually 5 different types of digital skills, digital citizen type. So you will get the 2 results. One is about your score, and second is about your type. But the reason I wanted to talk about this type was that there are actually 5 different types. One type, of course, role model is, we call it digilog, because who know how to move around digital world and online and offline. There's no surprise. Their skills are high, their usage is moderate, and then they know, purposely use, and their risk is low. But interesting is about carefree is also obvious, right? Who use a lot, risk a lot, and skills low. But important part is about ordinary, always and cautious, especially always on and cautious. Cautious are the children who use not much, but actually they have a very good skill. And their risk is low because usage is low. But there are the group of children who are always on, whose skill is also medium, very similar to the level-wise is cautious, but they use a lot and they are exposed themselves to a lot of risk. Do you know what is actually differentiation factors? Parenting and school. So school teachers, you are the leader in your class, in your country, and you're in the world. So please, let's work with us, and then please let us know when you have when you need any needs and support. And we are here. Probably Lucian and Dr. Masato and everyone are here to support you. Thank you very much, and I will close my speak.
Thank you, Dr. Park. Okay, thank you for your sharing, especially about the DQ seal programs and all the questionnaires, the DQ. And we are honored because all of us, most of us in the group right now is teachers. So we like to thank you, Dr. Park, for the sharing of the global standards for digital citizenship and the importance of digital skills and student online safety to protect our students. And yeah, I think we come to our next session. Thank you again, Dr. Park. Now we are in the Q&A discussion with panelists. So the time is now is 11:22. So we managed to have more time on the Q&A sessions. So my first question will be to Dr. Masato. Is Dr. Masato here?
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Masato, there's one question. How can we encourage today's generation of students to be more responsible in fact checking? So can you elaborate on that, Dr. Masato?
Well, the technique I use in my teaching is basically to use some case studies to emphasize how basically how bad consequences can be. So I think that's so if I share this information, what happens next? So so that kind of example. Maybe if I could quickly share my slide, then maybe might be easier.
Sure, Dr. Masato.
Sure. To answer things like, let's say, like this thing, for example. So this is a Facebook post from animal rights activist group talking about how this restaurant is supposed to be selling dog meat, which is illegal in Hong Kong. And also people sort of despise that kind of culture, which is, still practiced in southern part of China. So this was huge in Hong Kong. And there's a lot of protests in front of these restaurants. People are trying to dox the owners of the restaurant and accusing them. So it was a big fuss. And so these kind of real examples that really happened in your own community and talk to this one works really well in my case because the restaurant owner's daughter is my student's age. And this daughter was like adamantly defending her family business on the internet. So she fought back. And one thing led to another. There's TV interviews with the restaurant owners. And he was crying in front of the camera saying that we are not selling dog meat. It's actually mutton. It's a sheep. Government get involved and they have to test the meat. So you can imagine how one post on Facebook can have this serious consequence and could possibly ruin somebody's family life. And I think this kind of example actually illustrates vividly how important it is to understand what is fact and what is not before you take action on information. So I think as an educator, you have to look for those kind of real examples that students can relate to. If that answers your question, that makes them responsible.
Yeah, Dr. Masato, I have one question.
Yes.
If we want to teach the fact checking, can we do it in the across syllables, across subject? Is it possible?
Yes, I think that's what I've been advocating actually. So when we do teacher training, we try to encourage teachers for teaching mathematics, teaching history, teaching geography, teaching chemistry. They should come to our session and learn how to teach fact checking on their own subject. So in Indonesia, for example, there are certain number of people who are believing in flat earth theory, earth is flat. I don't see it as a media literacy issue. I see it as a science education issue. So it's actually a science teacher who should go to the class and say, I know that many of you might have watched this very entertaining YouTube video. Let's watch it together and let's debunk why they are wrong. you know. So I think that kind of approach is more effective than media literacy teachers
Yeah.
talking about flat earth theory. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need a new subject in our classroom right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Masato. Thank you. Okay. Next question will be to Mr. Lucien. I have a few questions here. Mr. Lucien, how can we determine if the link sent to us is safe to open or not? This is from YouTube. Comment from YouTube. Mr. Lucien, any comment?
I think the difficulty here is who is sending you the link, right? And then what is the link for? So if you're assuming that it's just a harmless link, you can take a look at the URL. Sometimes the problem is what they show there and where they go might be different. So what I do is actually just go to the site myself. So for example, if somebody sends me saying something like I'm from your daughter's school, we want you to update some account or some particulars, and this is the link you do it. I'll just go to my daughter's school website and I'll do it from there. So like I said, you don't respond to the link, you initiate your own. That means you go to the source itself and find. It's very hard to tell when it is malicious and when it is not. It depends on the context. So whenever people ask you for information, I would not respond to a link. I would actually go to the site on my own.
Okay, and there's a second question also, Mr. Lucien.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, just one more question. Is biometric login safe to use? What do you think, Mr. Lucien?
So this has been asked quite a bit, right? Because we have moved from the old PIN number, then we moved to with characters, then after that we moved to fingerprint, now we move to face. Generally, it is known to be quite secure. The only problem is you can't reset it. So for example, if somebody somehow compromises my fingerprint, right? I got 9 more chances, right? I can reset and choose another finger. After 10, I'm done. I can't choose a new pass. You know, like you choose a new password, you can just change. But once once these are compromised, they're gone. So the face one, I'm a bit worried about because I only got one. You know, yeah. So these are things I would look out for. But I think generally they are safe for what they are intended to protect. So again, whatever you want to protect, and then the security need to match. So if I'm protecting nuclear codes, I definitely want more than just one fingerprint. I want everything. You know, everything. If I'm protecting just I don't know, my photos of my gardening, for example, then I just leave it open. You can take all the photos you want. It's no big deal. Yeah. Oh, sorry, you're muted, I think.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Lucien. The next question will be to Dr. Park. Dr. Park, what is your aspiration for DQ in the future? Do you what, what's your vision ahead?
Okay. So our mission up to 2020 was a DQ every child. So we work with, actually Lucian was one of our key partners back then. And we work with the various organizations in Singapore, Singtel, Worldwide, World Economic Forums, and more, to empower children with digital citizenship. So that was our mission up to 2020. In 2020, DQ became a standard. And then now we actually move it, our mission from DQ Every Child to DQ for All. So DQ for All is actually all topics of digital intelligence as well as all age groups. And what we do is no longer about we provide education ourselves. Rather than what we do is that we empower those who empower. So we empower the organizations who are actually bringing the digital empowerment to the people. So we are, and what we do is that from the DQ Index is help the global players and the local players as well to help them to track and monitor their impact and help them to actually develop their digital education content in easily and fast way. So one of the key projects that we do with actually Asian Development Bank and other is about the teachers' digital skills and their assessment too. So what we like to hope to work together with the teachers is not about the then it's more about how we can empower teachers, how we can introduce the right tools to you. So I'm very glad to meet with Dr. Masato and also Lucian as usual. He's brilliant. And REFCOM, and it is so, I'm glad to see this is a new initiative by Senior REFCOM. And we'd love to support all of those who are working in the field. Yeah, that's our mission, and that's what we try to do.
So thank you, Dr. Park. Thank you. On the second round is an open questions. Okay. It's open to any of the panelists. Can any of the panelists relate this issue with the using of AI? For example, how AI can help with the digital citizenship. For example, in Dr. Masato case, how can AI differentiate between fake news and facts? Or is there any technologies that can help teachers and web user, internet user to differentiate between fake and fact news? I open to the panelists.
Maybe I should go first since I was named. I don't think so. At the end of the day, it has to be human eyes that needs to understand the context in which the information is produced and shared. Um, AI is helpful in gathering potentially problematic claims. The information coming from usual suspects, those accounts that are constantly producing problematic content. Yes, you can flag those automatically. You can use certain keywords to monitor the social media and pick up potentially problematic content, and that technology actually exists. If you're talking about public figure statements or speech, there is an AI programs, at least in English language, that could check the statistical facts and other information, and if the statement is correct or not. So that kind of technology exists. But at the end of the day, like I said, most information we consume is not verifiable. So for example, if you say somebody says, "Oh, Chinese food is healthier than Japanese food," that's an opinion, but you can go deeper and say, okay, what do you mean by Japanese food? What's your definition? Are we
Yeah.
talking about the amount of oil or calorie?
Yeah.
And when you say health, what health are you talking about? What age group? Good healthy food for 18-year-old is very different from somebody who's 45. So
So
when you
the,
go drill down to that, there's no way AI can judge that information. So unfortunately, it's the humans. We have to do it by ourselves.
so it's safe to say that it is on our end to
I think
decide where.
so. I mean,
Yeah.
computers can definitely assist,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it has to be us. It's our responsibility. Yeah.
So that's where where in our world, in educators world, that's where we have to come in to help the children learn how
Yes, I agree that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, from a Google perspective, we always do look at machine learning and how it can help us scale. One of the reasons we need to do this is because the volume, right, of communications in the world is above and beyond any moderator can moderate, because we put up so much information so quickly,
Mhm.
and we need to be able to scale that. So there are small things that we have been working on. We've been working on whether machine learning models can identify like cyberbullying speech. Right? When somebody types something and we feel that that might be offensive or targeted at another person, there are certain speech patterns, right? I mean, we're doing this in English first, but I think we will have to look at other languages as well. And how maybe if somebody types in something like that, we can prompt them, do you really want to send this now? Do you want to rethink it? Rather than you hit enter and it goes. So that's one area in which AI is being used or might be used, or we're exploring its usage. There are many other areas we are looking at things like that as well. I mean, for fact checking, if something is edited, can the machine learning figure out, the little, very subtle things that shows that something has been edited?
So
Such to point out. Yeah.
sorry, Lucian. You mean say before we press the enter button, there's some app that can check whether our contents is appropriate or not? Is it
So these
what
are
you
things
said?
we're exploring. I mean, there have been plugins, there have been things like that do look at these things using machine learning models, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's new. How about cookies? I have one question about cookies.
So the
Is it
question about
is,
I
yeah,
saw.
is it okay to accept all cookies?
So I saw that question, and I mean, my take on it is very simple. If it's this sort of cookies, right, definitely accept unless you have health issues. No, but I know where this is coming from. Nowadays, in most sites you go, you see the drop down, right? Do you want allow or don't allow, or
Yeah.
something like that? And it's because we've become a little bit more tight on privacy. So we want user consent. That means, do you want us to do things? To be frank, I mean, just to update those who don't know what cookies are, it's a little bit of information stored on your computer that tells the website a little bit about you. Right. So for example, if I go to this website very often and I don't want to always have to log in, then I allow the cookie there so that the moment I go there, they know it's me and they let me through. I don't have to key in the password all the time. Right. That said, I would advise everyone when the thing comes down to go look at the options, because they allow you to choose which cookies you want. Some of the cookies might be advertising cookies, which you may want to disable. Some of the cookies are like to remember who I am, then you want to enable. So I think we need to be a little bit more knowledgeable about these things. We have options. It's not a yes or no question. It is a what we want option. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lucian. So you prepare the cookies for us. Now
Always
we make us hungry now. Okay, we still have how many hours? How many? Now it's
Can
11.
I add to the AI issue?
Sure, sure. Dr. Park, be my guest.
Uh, um, I think many of you probably there may be a math teachers in this the group and science teachers, and I'm also trained as a statistician. And what I actually found, my research back then was now we call it the big data, but long time ago it was just high dimensional statistics. That means how old I am. But anyway, a lot of times when I see the AI, people actually trust without really thinking. I see the AI becomes like a black box, or AI becomes like a god. When AI said, this must be correct. There's some weird trust that we human have toward to the machine tell us because we don't know about it. So one of the important things that we need to teach, like AI is at the end of the day a bunch of linear algebra. So what you need to think about is that debunk and demystify technology, and that is actually very important skills that we need to impart to our children. So fact checking and all other issue is I think is related to that mentality. Machine is what we created and something that we can debunk and understood. So what Dr. Masato say is that at the end of the day, it is our responsibility. I think what educators' responsibility from my perspective is about enable children to think and actually logically, reasonably with critical thinking. And AI is no exception. So let's not make AI as a god. And let's not make AI as a black box that we can just have to accept. So that's actually the 2 cents I want to include.
Thank you, Dr. Park. Thank you very much. I have one question from our chat box. This is open to all the panelists. As a teachers, how can we be more effective in our as a teachers? How can be more effective to our learners despite of the modular based distance learning? So the question basically, how can our teaching and learning become more effective? Because of the distant learning now. Anybody want to respond to this question?
I can jump in because my wife's a teacher and surrounded by educators, in my family. And one of the things we really did think about was during this pandemic when things moved towards a home-based learning, right? Or many of you have to do this. Well, what could be done better?
Yeah.
And I think we had an opportunity to rethink very carefully how education could have been restructured. And I don't know if we've missed that opportunity because we tried, at least in Singapore, we tried to do things a lot of the same way. That means we move things online, but we try to have it a lot the same way. No, but I was just throwing ideas out there. Like we have some teachers which are better than other teachers at delivering content, but every teacher is great at facilitating discussion in the class, right? So rather than every teacher have to look at the curriculum and then deliver the content and try to do that, would it have been great if we had like the master teachers or the great teachers teach that, we video it down, we deliver that, and then the in-class teachers then take over and spur discussions, and talk about things like that instead. I mean, these are things we could have done during this time, and I think we can still do using technology. So that's some of the ideas off my head. I'll defer to my more esteemed speakers.
Lucian, you're the esteemed speaker here.
Doctor in front of your name, like
Your
I'm
wife
not-
is teacher. What are you talking about?
He-
my
he
my
the-
husband is a professor teacher. Yeah, but actually, it is actually what I was told by my husband. He actually ran the classroom virtually during the COVID as well. Maybe the circumstance may be different, but one of the key findings that he had is that he teach at the NTU, Nanyang Technological University, and when they have the face-to-face actually education, they're not children. The students were very quiet. They're not afraid to raise a hand and ask the teachers, professors about what they know, what they don't know. But virtually, what he found is that it became much more live and they become much more participatory. Yeah, so they actually raise a hand and they started to talk what they usually don't talk at the offline classroom. So one of the things that you may want to try is to encourage the students to speak more because they are more encouraged to do so. And also one of the other finding that I saw from the report is it is not about the young teachers who know technology better, run the better classrooms and virtually. What they found is that actually experienced teachers who are very good with interaction with the classroom, actually they are using the technology much better. That was a finding, which was quite counterintuitive. We usually think that, oh, young teachers will do better. So that actually signals is that once you know, familiarize with the technology, it is up to you. It is you really. So don't get get afraid of the technology. Once you know, you are the master. So let's be confident.
So I heard the word twice. Let's be confident from you, Dr. Park.
Yep.
Okay, so what you're saying is the teachers have to be the master of their class, no matter what the platform it is. They have to know their students. Yeah, good. Anybody wants to add on this matter? How to
My
become?
my experience is definitely the opposite. I don't like online teaching, and somehow I haven't yet mastered the techniques like Dr. Park's husband. It's really hard for me to make it interactive. I mean, it's much easier for me to do it face to face,
Mm,
and so I have been struggling for the last 2 years. And one thing I learned is for online teaching, my experience is that I treat myself like a coach rather than a teacher now. So students learn by themselves. It's like learning piano, learning sports. So I can guide them. I can be there with them, but they have to watch videos by themselves, do the exercise online, and I'm sort of like standing by whenever they have questions. So I do lots of group chats, group discussions. I always use Google Doc, so I just put Google Doc and share, and then make students divided in different groups. They discuss and they write the results on the Google Doc, which I'm monitoring. So I learned to be a bit lazy in a way because I talk less, but I think that's the mode I'm trying to experiment right now, and it seems to be working. Yeah. I guess we have to experiment with different modes of teaching and see what sticks to with your students because culture can be very different from country to country.
okay, thank you, Dr. Masato. But I think the online teaching will stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will stay.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, the online teaching will stay
Yeah.
because of the uncertainty in the pandemics. Okay. If there's no comment, can I conclude this session? Is it possible? Okay. Thank you, our distinguished panelists. We learned a lot today. Um, okay, will be our end of the session. I would like to hand this over to Miss Siva. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharafuddin Abdul Shukur. So, dear speakers, please stay with us. So, we have a photo session after our penultimate session. Okay, so dear ladies and gentlemen, we come to our penultimate session. Allow me to welcome our next speaker, Mr. Ryan Rahado. Mr. Ryan Rahado is the head of public affairs, Google Southeast Asia. Prior to his role in Google, Mr. Rahado worked as a parliamentary advocate at the United Nations Population Fund and Asian Secretariat. Mr. Ryan will share with us on Google, the Internet Awesome educational resources for educators that helps talk about and practice digital citizenship and online safety at home. Over to you, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the kind introduction. It's been like great sessions. Listening to Dr. Park, Dr. Masato. I personally love like both online and offline teaching sessions. to just like share my personal view on this, and thanks to Lucian as well. I'm Ryan Raharjo from Public Affairs team at Google. Previously, I think Dr. Masato and Dr. Park have shared some great digital literacy materials, right? But I will also be sharing additional ones that I hope you can use at schools or at home, and it can help you, helping the kids and also like yourself to increase your digital literacy skills. But I guess before that, I think all of us agree that nothing is more important than providing families with a secure online experience, right? And from Google's side, that starts by providing some easy to use and effective tools. We realize that technology alone, I think, is not a solution. Therefore, we work together with everyone, with parents, with schools, the NGOs, the governments, to promote digital awareness and also like online safety resources. And that hopefully can encourage more conversation about what it means to stay safe and be also like smart online. And one of the resources that we have developed is Be Internet Awesome, which you can see on the slide. And I hope most of you have used it, but if you have not, this is basically a global Google run program that aims to teach children on the fundamentals of online safety. And if we can go to the next slide, please. We developed Be Internet Awesome in collaboration with online safety experts, and it focuses on 5 key lessons. All of these to help children navigate online with confidence. And you can see information such as the importance of think before you post, or how to avoid scams, building a great password, for example, and how to be kind online, even empathy that Dr. Masato mentioned before. So all available in there. And in short, we really hope that all the children who interact with these materials will be able to make smarter choices online. And this is not only for kids. The program also includes a range of specific resources for educators and also like parents. So everyone has the right tools that they need to learn and participate in the conversation. Next slide. And what about for educators? So here basically are all the assets. The curriculum that we have developed gives everyone, like educators, the tools and methods that you need. Everything that you need to teach digital safety fundamentals, and you can also like bring these materials into the classroom. For example, here included in the curriculum, as you can see, are lesson plans for the 5 topics. There are also activities, posters, certificates, teaching slides, and worksheets. So I think it's help you better to convey the messaging to the student. You can also find all these assets not only through the website, but there are also like a couple of online exercises or workshop that we develop in partnership with the local partner as well. And Dr. Masato also raised an important point over the need to localize digital literacy materials to local languages. Therefore, we have localized this curriculum to several languages in Southeast Asia. It's available in Bahasa Indonesia, in Thai and Vietnamese languages. I will share some materials in the chat column for your information later. But now also like there's also always question about what about the parents, what the parents can get from like this curriculum. If we can go to the next slide, for parents, we see that without some guidance, sometimes like having a meaningful conversation about digital safety and respect at home can be really hard, right? So these are pretty much sensitive topics, and parents may not know where to start. I think we discussed it as well, like in the beginning. So to help make starting the conversation easier, if you go to the Be Internet Awesome site, you will find a family pledge, which you can use to reinforce important lessons at home with your children. We also developed a couple of Internet Awesome Parents videos, a video series to provide parents a little bit of help with digital parenting. And of course, not only for teachers and parents, the kids can also like get information from like this asset in the next slide. and to help them learn all like these digital literacy lessons in a way that is super fun and immersive. We created an interactive online game called Interland. So this is basically free and web-based game, so it is very easily accessible by everyone, and most importantly, it is in a format that kids already love. When they go here, there are 4 lands, for example. Kids can combat hackers, can fight against bullies, pretty much practicing the skills that they need to be good digital citizens. So we really hope that these resources are useful. I encourage educators, parents, and officials here to take advantage of these resources and all the new activities on media literacy that we have developed under BIA. And let's not only teach kids, but also inspire and empower families, as the previous speaker said. Also like to make tech work better for families and all of us. Thank you, and I will hand it over back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ryan. To our ladies and gentlemen, kindly go to this link shared on the comment box for you to access Google's the Internet Awesome material shared by Mr. Ryan. Okay, so we covered a lot of information about fostering digital citizenship through safe and responsible internet use. Our speakers share abundant knowledge with us and also a lot of information with us also. So I hope all of you enjoy the webinar. Now we come down to the final stage of our program. Please turn on your camera for the photo opportunities with our guests and speakers. So we have our senior secretary, Dr. Ethel, with us for the photo session. So turn on your cameras and put a big smile. So we have a countdown because we have many screens to have a snapshot. So we go to the first screen first. 3, 2, 1. The participants, please fill in the evaluation form for this webinar. Please scan the QR code on the screen for the evaluation form in order to obtain the e-certificate. Please complete the evaluation questions before 11:59 p.m. today. E-certificate for those who have completed the evaluation will be sent within 4 to 6 weeks' time. If I could make a few remarks while you are taking the survey, thank you to all our speakers for sharing their expertise today. Thank you so much to all our participants for making this event a great success. Thank you to Google and DQ Institute to making this event possible. We encourage you to follow Simeo Wrexham Facebook and YouTube channel. Thank you very much for your participations. This concludes today's programming. Thank you and keep safe, everyone. Bye. Have a nice day from Simeo Wrexham.